Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started here. First off, thank you so much for coming. It's the end of the day. We want to have some fun. This is going to be super lighthearted, really good time, lots of free resources. You guys have listened to amazing things about law and IEPs and 504s. Super important stuff. We're here to tell you day-to-day fun things, activities you can do with kids. So it's going to be fun, participate, and you get lots of free stuff. All right. So, two most important things about this session. Dollar Tree is your best friend. I see some head nods. People know. You guys already know. Guys, literally every single thing I have up here, with the exception of like these cases that we'll be giving away a whole set of today, is from Dollar Tree. Everything I use for task boxes almost always is either free, donated, or from the Dollar Tree. And then second, if your director is here, tell them you need a bigger budget for lamination and Velcro, because that is how you do all these amazing things up here and in the back. Let's see, I think it's skipping one, because even our introduction. Sorry, guys, we had a little mishap with the PowerPoint. They don't have our most recent one. All right, I'm gonna have to wing some of this, and that's totally okay. So there should have been an introduction slide on there, so I'll go ahead and introduce myself, and then Lindsay will introduce herself and tell you guys a little bit about Project Access and what we do, who we are, and how we could potentially benefit you guys in your school district. So my name is Katie Adams, and I am an autism resource specialist through Project Access. And before this, I worked in public schools for 10 years in various different positions. I was a para. I was a high school teacher in a self-contained autism classroom. I was a process coordinator. And then I also was a BCBA for a school district. So quite a few different roles. And my favorite by far was being a high school self-contained teacher, because I love all of these things. I will let Lindsay introduce herself and tell you guys about what we do.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Lovecamp, like Katie said. I'm currently the Associate Director at Project Access, as well as an Autism Resource Specialist. Prior to my role there, I worked as a teacher as well, and I started out as a para, so I spent 13 years in the public school setting as well. Predominantly working in classrooms that were more like essential skills or self-contained autism classrooms. So I've had experience at the elementary level, intermediate level, and middle school level. So lots of experience with different kiddos. So Project Access, just to kind of get a read of the room, how many of you guys have heard of Project Access? Oh, good. So several of you. So for the ones who haven't, we are housed at Missouri State University in Springfield. And we are funded by DESE, and we provide training, resources, and support services to any public school in the state of Missouri. So we can come in and do PD training for a big group of people. We have online trainings that are completely free that you can sign up and take at your own pace, and those are free. Those are called our Autism Educator Academy courses. And so we go over all the evidence-based practices that are shown to be effective with students with autism. And we have a lot of trainings on behavior, and then we also have specific trainings that are geared just for paras as well, because we were paras before, and paras unfortunately don't get a lot of training. Same with a lot of special ed teachers. We don't get to go to a lot of stuff a lot of times. So we have a lot of different resources. We can do consult services in your classroom as well if you're having some students that are really struggling with behavior. We can walk you through the FBA process as well. So lots of good things. So check out our website. We also have resources like fact sheets, some things that you can also share with parents about some of those good interventions. So we'll have our information at the end where you can either email us or come get a card from us, or you can check out our website as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Lindsay. Okay, I'm going to do a test here because I think it's doing every other slide. It is. Any recommendations in the back? Okay, well, I'm just going to kind of keep chatting. I can do that. So just to kind of go over the schedule for today, what we were going to do, just go over some housekeeping stuff. We are going to talk about planning in your classroom, task box creation, kind of the flow of task boxes, how to utilize them, how to incorporate those then into vocational skills and vocational tasks, and then transitioning that into community integration. Nope, that's fine. Now I'm really winging it because I don't even have my computer. So a little bit of housekeeping. Once we get everything back up and going, there should be some stars. I'm okay. Thank you so much, though. That's so nice of you. You know what? You can be our first recipient of something free for being so kind. So come on up and grab something free from the table. We like to reinforce positive behavior, guys. Yeah, we've got lots of free resources. There's pins, there's click counters, there's pop tubes, there's all kinds of really good stuff. So there's going to be some yellow stars on the slides. And when you see a yellow star, that means that we have that resource available up here. You can take pictures. Some places you'll see there's papers. So you can take one if there's one available, take it back to your school, laminate it, use it. So anything that there's a star, you'll be able to access one of those things whenever you're up and doing the resource walk here in a little bit. Okay. I'll go ahead and just jump into goals. So I had a cute little slide of a picture with Elsa saying, let it go, talking about traditional academic goals. So raise your hand if you have ever inherited a student, if you're at the secondary level, and they still had maybe a Dolch sight words goal as a high school student. Right? Amen. Me too. Okay, raise your hand if you are a secondary teacher and you inherited a student that had a letter identification goal, alphabet identification, or identifying, yes, right? Okay, so that's super frustrating, right? So we want to make sure that we are starting to shift away from some of those traditional academic goals. It doesn't mean that we can't still teach academics. Our kids are still totally capable of learning, but we need to really shift away from those types of goals and think about, okay, what's the long-term plan here? What job are they wanting to seek? What types of activities are they wanting to do post-secondary? And let's make some of those goals fit a little bit more to their interests and their potential job. So when we look at that, we a lot of times think, okay, in the IEP, we need to make sure we have a vocational goal, right? And we totally do. Like, you should have a goal in there that's under the category of voc prep or vocational skills. However, it's really important to remember all the other skills that end up being part of their vocational skills, right? So we think about activities of daily living. Do you think your learner is going to be able to hold down a job if they can't follow a routine? Probably not. Is your learner going to be able to hold down a job if they don't have a routine at home? Can they get themselves up? Can they get themselves dressed? Can they take their medication? Can they do all those things that gets them to the job? Once they're at the job, can they follow simple directions? Can they utilize basic meal prep to make sure that they take their lunch with them? So thinking about those other goal areas, that vocational goals aren't just going to be under that vocational subject line. They might be under activities of daily living. Can anybody else throw out another activities of daily living goal that would affect potential vocational skills? Being on time, yeah, money related. We're going to talk about more of those specifically, but those are great. You guys can have a free resource. You can come up and get it now, or you can save it for the end, or Lindsay can bring the box to you. Oh, sweet. Yeah. Okay, so it's right there. Talking a little bit more about those other goal areas. So we also think about social skills, right? So social skills is huge in the workplace. So again, when we're looking at those vocational goals, we don't just want to say, okay, we've got math, we've got reading, oh, we need to make sure we have a vocational goal in there. Let's talk about they're going to work X, Y, and Z. Think about those other areas that are going to play into that job. So social skills, does your learner know how to interact with customers? Do they know how to talk about non-preferred topics? When you're looking at those goals, again, have that vocational goal in mind. When you were looking at behavior management, Is your learner able to tolerate situations? Are they able to tolerate a change in schedule? Can they tolerate somebody talking about something that they really don't like? Can they tolerate their break maybe being cut a little bit short because there's been an emergency? Those all, again, are goals that are going to be under different categories in your IEP, but they are going to relate to that end goal of vocation and of their potential job. Thank you very much. Okay, a couple more. So we talked about behavior management. Then, of course, you're going to have those functional academics, math, functional math, reading, functional reading, and that would really play into some of those money management, time, measurement, things like that. Functional reading, we're going to go over some examples in a little bit, but can they read a medicine label? Can they read a simple recipe? Can they read community signs? Can they read common things that they might see, like wash hands before returning to work? Little things like that, instead of focusing on those sight words or, oh, they're going to move up to a level F in reading. Focus on more of those functional things in the community that they might see. And then self-advocacy, too, is a huge one that we forget about when we think about vocational skills and our learners. So if you have a learner who is on the job site and they don't have somebody explicitly telling them, hey, take your lunch break, are they going to take their lunch break? Are they going to raise their hand and say, oh, excuse me, I think I was supposed to take my break 10 minutes ago? Make sure that they have those skills. If they get overlooked and they don't get a break at all, are they just going to sit there and not say anything? Are they going to act out and engage in negative behavior? Or are they going to be able to have, what was that? Walk off the job? It very well could happen. Or are they going to be able to advocate for themselves and say, oh, excuse me, I think it's my turn to take a break, or, oh, I haven't had a break yet. I'm supposed to get my lunch break. Is that coming anytime soon? Things like that. So again, really just looking at those other goal areas that are going to play into vocation. Anybody want to share any other goals that they think fit with a vocational goal? With the end vocational goal in sight? Guys, we have so much free stuff to give away. Yes. Absolutely. Transitioning on their own and asking for help, 100%. You can come grab a resource or you can save it for the end if you want to. Oh, you guys are so awesome. Thank you so much. Technology, right? Okay. So I kind of skipped this, but I'll do it now. So really think about your why today, guys. I want you guys to be able to, if you grab that little planning sheet, have a student in mind. And by the end of the day, hopefully you guys can kind of have a day planned out for them where you're really thinking about, hey, I'm going to use this task because they want to have this job and they really need to work on a fine motor. So I'm going to take a picture of this task because that incorporates fine motor and the job that they like. And I really want them to work on money management. So I'm going to use this file folder that works on that. Have a learner in mind and think about that. So also, just think about your why today. So the reason I am standing up here talking is because, like I said, I taught in a high school self-contained classroom. My learners that I worked with had very high support needs. I tried to steer away from high-functioning, low-functioning language. So they had very high support needs. And it was quite a few years ago. I think I did a good job. I think I was a good teacher, but now I know more. And I want to share that information with more people because I, unfortunately, am sad to say I have plenty of learners who are sitting on the couch and they are not working, they're not volunteering, they're not doing anything. And that makes me sad. So that is my why, is I want to share all the things that we know with you guys so that you can take them back and work with your learners on them and hopefully get more of our individuals on the spectrum and just with any disability working. Okay, we talked about that. Okay, so we really need to know what our learners like, right? That's like, duh, of course we do. So we need to know what their interests are. A lot of times when we look at task boxes, people with the best of intentions will get on Pinterest and they'll be like, oh, that's cute. Oh, that's good. Okay, that's good. That's good. But does it relate to your kids at all? If it doesn't, it's kind of meaningless, right? So make sure that you know what they like and you can incorporate those things into your tasks, into your task boxes, into your vocational jobs that you set up in the classroom. So have you guys been to sessions about preference assessments, transition assessments, things like that? Cool. We're not going to go into depth with that because you guys, other people are covering that way more in depth than we are. But those are great ways for you to just start to know what your kids like, start to gauge their interests. Highly recommend doing that, not only at the very beginning of the year, but multiple times throughout the year because interests change, right? So we do have a few of these if anybody wants them. This one's really basic. It's picture-based, just asking what they like, what are their hobbies. And then we have a couple of other informal transition assessments up here if you guys want to grab a copy of those at the end. And there's a picture-based one also, if you have learners who might just need pictures that they can point to. Okay, so how do we know what our learners like? A lot of times, unfortunately, we ask, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to this, we might ask our learners, what do you want to be when you grow up? And a lot of times we hear things like basketball player, actress, singer, because those are the people that they see in movies, right? Those are the jobs that are glamorized on TV and in movies. And a lot of times our learners don't even know about all the jobs that are out there because they just might not have exposure to them. So how can we do that? Show video examples, point out jobs and stories around the buildings when you do watch movies, read stories, listen to videos, point out all the different jobs that are in there. Have learners research their favorite people and see what jobs they had maybe before they were famous, before they became a basketball star. What types of jobs did they have? Do research projects. You can create collage boards of different career paths. You can have a job highlight of the week, morning meeting or calendar or whatever you guys might do in your secondary classrooms is a great, great, great time to do that. We did do that in my classroom. Every week we would have a new job highlight. We would talk about it, we would watch a video about it, the kids would be able to look up different things about it, pick a new job every week to go over. You can have guest speakers come in to present to your class. And a great way to integrate learners into the building with gen ed peers also is have them do a poll in the building. Have them ask other learners, have them ask their peers what they want to be when they grow up, what different types of jobs are they interested in. Okay, and we talked about this. Think about a learner and kind of use that planning guide throughout the day if you are interested. Okay, so really breaking it down, what is this going to look like day to day? How is this going to look in my classroom? So as with anything in our field, right, first and foremost, of course, it's going to be individualized. So just so I can kind of gauge the room a little bit, raise your hand if the learners you work with or your program, your job capacity works more with learners who would be picture-based, community integration, volunteer work, or supported employment. Okay. And then how many would it be more competitive employment or potentially like post-secondary education? Okay. So our tasks can be edited, of course, and they can be differentiated to work with all different levels. They are very picture heavy though, so they are geared a little bit more towards those learners who might be leaning more towards supported employment, just to kind of throw that out there. But we'll go over lots of examples of differentiation too. So again, individualized, guys. Your classrooms are going to look different. The way you set these things up is going to be different. So just like we do in the classroom when we're teaching, any other skill, we can use visual cues. They're super helpful, right? They are a research-based practice for individuals with autism, evidence-based. So we can use cue cards, contingency maps. We have examples of all of those things if you guys want some freebies of those. Token economies, or reinforcement systems. Again, you can make those very, very, very secondary based with your learners in mind. It doesn't have to be a Velcro chart with star stickers. It can be, I've done like a basketball punch card. Print a picture of a basketball on cardstock, and then they get hole punches on the lines. When they fill up the basketball, they can have whatever they want. Do a regular punch card. You can do QR codes now for a token system. So it doesn't just have to be that elementary visual that people think of when they think of a token board that says like I'm working for and it's got star stickers on it, right? It doesn't have to look like that. Social narratives. There's a great example up here for a freebie if anybody wants it, for a social narrative of going to a school dance. It's very appropriate. It is not a lot of pictures. The pictures are real images. They're not clip art. So social narratives are great. Visual schedules, visual checklists, and task analyses. So you guys will see when you do the walk in the back, the vocational tasks, almost all of them have some form of a visual component to them, as do the task boxes. They all have a visual component to them as well, a task analysis. And then just a quick note on visual schedules. A lot of times people will say, oh, they don't need a visual schedule, they've moved away from it. I just highly encourage you to think about your own life, and if you use Post-its, visual. If you use a planner, visual. If you use your phone, that's visual. Those are all visual cues and visual reminders in different forms of a visual schedule for yourself. So just take that into consideration when you're thinking about your secondary learners. If you think, oh, they don't need it, they might benefit from it, and it's okay. Again, it doesn't have to be picture-based where you take it off and put it in the all-done bin. We can make it meet their needs. And here's some different examples. And like if you notice up top there where it says notice, those are in all public bathrooms. That's a visual cue, guys. We think about visual cues with autism, and a lot of times we think about like some of the lanyards we were giving away at our booth, which are still great. We love those, right? The little visual cue cards. But it doesn't have to look like that. That is a visual cue that we all use in our daily world every day. They might need a little card that tells them when their break time is and when their lunch is. Has anybody used contingency maps or consequence maps before? A couple people? Okay, so these are like my favorite thing ever. And again, you can make them meet different needs. So this one's a great one for work. When I'm at work, you have the setting event over on the left. The top choices are the green, the positive choices. Bottom choices are the red, negative choices. So this really puts the power in your learner's hands. They have the decision to choose. You're not telling them what to do. You're not threatening. You're not saying, all right, well, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. You're presenting them with their options. Hey, here we go. You can do this, and this is the outcome, or you can do this, and this is the outcome. It's your decision. So again, with these, you can have them with pictures like we do now, or you can take the pictures out. You can have words in there. You can take the red and green out. You can take out, the two at the end and just have one option of each. So you can make them meet the needs of your learners. But this is a great tool. And then these are just some first then boards that we used when we did some community volunteer work. I'll get into it a little bit later, but we worked at Price Cutter. Some of my learners did in Springfield. And we used these boards when we were at Price Cutter. So the first one is first gather carts, then take a break. First bag groceries, then take a break. So when we look at classroom jobs, we're going to kind of start going through the day, guys. Start talking about different times of the day and different things you can do. So classroom jobs, ditch those old jobs. If you have classroom jobs in your room, a lot of times people will still use kind of the elementary ones or old school ones like classroom helper, different things like that, lunch helper, attendance. Use every opportunity that you have to expose them again to those actual jobs in the community. So instead of the teacher helper, make somebody every day the shift supervisor. Make somebody, if they like to do things with lunchtime or breakfast or snack, make them a server, make them a busser, a hostess, things like that. I had a learner in my classroom who was very theatrical, and he loved to oh, yes, madam, and oh, no, sir. And so every couple of weeks, we would do a fine dining, and he was our server for the night, our fine dining server, and he ate it up. He would research it, and he would practice, and he would go over scripts, and then every couple of weeks, we would have a little fine dining meal in our classroom, and he was able to wait on people and do all of his theatrics. So that was his class job, and even though he didn't do it necessarily every day, he worked towards it every day and did something to help him prepare for it when it was time. If you have somebody that takes your attendance, you could call them your class secretary. So give them actual jobs that they might encounter in the community and not some of those jobs that you might get on the Target dollar spot. They have those cute little charts with class jobs on them. Make your own and make them realistic. You can do maintenance, IT support, postal delivery, UPS. Usually school offices are so great about working with our special education classes. And if you say, hey, can you call me every time packages come in? Your kid can be, the UPS guy for your building. And usually buildings are great about working with that. Lindsay, do you want to say anything about that from the elementary side? Do we have any elementary in here? Oh, no. Okay, she's going to say just a quick little thing.
So I think you guys can encourage, though, the people in your district or people that you know that work in the elementary setting, that I think a lot of times we think that this doesn't start till high school, but no, it absolutely starts earlier. And I always found ways for my kids to work on these skills in elementary from kindergarten on. So we started a recycling program at the elementary. We made sure every classroom had a box, and every Friday was recycling day. And my kids, we pushed a cart around and we collected everyone's recycling. And then back in my room, we had recycling boxes where they had to separate plastics from paper, from cans and bottles. And so that was a job that taught those job skills early on. And then, like Katie was saying, our office was great. We would get my kids would go get the mail, and then we would bring it in. And then I had kids sorting where they would put letters and different papers if they needed to pass out papers to the teacher mailboxes. Then my kids would come do that skill as well. And then I had some kids that really liked helping our janitors out. And so they would go help clean tables, help clean classrooms, some of those jobs. And I had kids that loved it so much they wanted to work for that as like a reward as well, to go help do that or clean the playground. It's like, okay, sure. So again, that's kind of tapping into their interests, though, if that's something. And also our janitor was amazing and the kids just loved him so much. So that was probably part of it. But encourage people to start it at an early age, because it's never too early to start those skills.
Thank you, Lindsay. And something else I was going to say too, for some of those classrooms that your learners might actually be applying for jobs and working in competitive employment, create some jobs that are super fun and make them apply for them. Have resumes, have applications in your classroom on deck, and maybe every couple weeks you switch up your jobs and they have to apply. If they want the super fun, cool jobs, they've got to put together a killer resume. They've got to put together a really good application. They need to meet with you. They need to make sure it's grammatically correct, work with them on a cover letter in regards to their strengths. So you can, again, totally utilize this for some of those higher level learners and make it very applicable and very appropriate for them moving on into the career field. Okay, so again, just kind of thinking about going through your day. So we just are encouraging you guys through this presentation to think about your day and think about like, okay, well, yeah, we do a morning routine. Am I really thinking about vocational skills when I'm doing that? Or am I just kind of going through the motion and getting kids in, getting them breakfast, getting the day going? So thinking about everything that your learners do in the morning if they were to be on a job site. So do you have a set morning routine? Can they independently navigate to and from your classroom? Do they know how to put their things away? Do they know what comes next? And can they begin independently? Or is there always a staff member in there prompting them like, hey, remember, get your work out. Hey, go ahead and get your morning binder out. Did you go talk to Ms. So-and-so about your late assignment? You know, think about all those prompts that we're probably giving them. And if you were to remove all of those, would they know what to do? Would they just sit there? Would they be like, heck yeah, they're leaving me alone this morning? You know, what do you think their response would be? Do they have the social skills to greet others coming in? If somebody greets them, can they respond appropriately? Do they know what to do if there's downtime? Do they understand the importance of coming even if they don't want to? And again, this really is going to be for some of those learners who might really be going into competitive employment. I'm sure you guys struggle with this a lot with some of those learners. I don't want to be here, school sucks, you know, whatever, I'll get a job someday and it'll be fine. And, you know, they have a hard time finding that connection. So do they truly understand the importance of coming? And if they didn't come, if this was a job, what those repercussions would be? Have those conversations with them. And then do they have the self-advocacy skills to ask questions if they don't know any of those things above? Okay, so I would also highly encourage you guys to have a clock-in system in your classrooms. Do any of you guys have a clock-in system already? One? Yeah, awesome. What do you do, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, I keep getting like pumped. I'm like, oh yeah, we're getting lively in here now. Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing. You can either get a free resource now or save it for the end. And somebody else raised their hand too. Anybody? Yeah. Cool. Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing. Ditto for the free resource. Okay, so I'm a big advocate, again, guys, that we need to try to have the same activities and resources available for all levels of learners. So you might not have a learner who can clock in using a formal big clock-in system, logging in. You might not have a learner who can write their name into a clock-in or like a check-in binder every morning. So we're going to go over some different ways you could do that. So you might have learners that have visual pictures or names. You might have it up on the board. They come in every morning, they move their picture or their name from home to school or home to work. It might be on your smart board. They swipe their name over to show that they're here. You might have personal sign-in sheets or personal sign-in binders at their desk. Every morning when they come in, they sign their name in there. A physical time clock, punch-in system. Or you might have learners check in with a supervisor. So if you guys have learners that go to lots of different classrooms throughout the day and travel around campus, maybe their case manager is their supervisor, and every morning they clock in with them. Maybe they do a school job. Let's say that they do recycling in your building. They need to go check in every morning with their supervisor, whoever's in charge of recycling club. They might not have them for class, but if they do a job for them during the day, don't you think it's fair that they would go check in with them in the morning and say, hey, I'm here today, the job's gonna get done. And if they don't, then they know, hey, they're not here today, we need to find somebody else to fill that job. So utilize it again like it's an actual job. Give them somebody to check in with in the morning so that they know, hey, I'm here, hey, this job's gonna get done today. So some different examples again. This is just a sign-in sheet, very simple one. We have some examples up here if you want to take a couple back. And they could write their name, write the times in there. And again, going back to all learners should have the option to utilize these things. So a name stamp is amazing. I used to have multiple learners that had a name stamp. Again, once they were in high school, and it's not giving up, guys. You're not saying, all right, well, they can't do it. But it's just realistic. You're not going to have a learner who is 18 years old, who cannot trace, who cannot write their name. It's just not going to happen probably, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. They still need to be able to identify who they are to people. So how else can we get creative, and how else can we have them do that? So again, name stamps, great way to do that. We had multiple learners that used a simple time clock like this. Every morning, they would take their stamp, boom. Yes? Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, love it. So guys, that's again just a great another example of how you can utilize the system for all learners. And then these are some apps that are free, super, super simple. Easy ways for them to clock in. They can do it on their phones. What teenager doesn't like being on their phone, right? So they can have their phone out in the morning, clock in, clock out before they leave at the end of the day, or you can have them clock in, clock out for specific jobs during the day. So it's time clock and time clock sync. Yes. Okay, so moving on to the next part of the day, just again, having those vocational skills in mind. So we can work on developing independent food prep and cooking skills. And that doesn't mean, guys, that they want to go into the food industry. It doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, if they need to take a lunch to work, if they can't do that, what are they going to do? Not have lunch every day? Have their mom make their lunch every day until they're 45? I mean, we need to try to make sure that they still have those skills because it still affects them and their employment. It affects them and their vocational skills, even if they don't want to actually work in a kitchen. So one thing that I did in my classroom is if I had a learner that brought a lunch, and usually, their parents would pack them this awesome little lunch, I would encourage them to not pack them a lunch and instead send in bulk of the items and the learner could put it together themselves. So like I had parents that would send in a big jar of peanut butter, a big thing of jelly, whole loaf of bread, a big thing of chips that we would divvy out into Ziploc bags by portion size, and then they would make their own lunch before we went to the cafeteria every day. So if you have learners who bring a home-packed lunch, see if the parents would be willing to send the items into school and they can practice making it themselves. And again, think back to those preferences. Restaurant food service, health and nutrition. How can you incorporate that learner's interests into different things, different jobs in your classroom? If you have a learner that really loves to cook, talk to your home ec classes and see if you could do some type of a partnership where they do like a special of the month and they do a little tasting for people. I know COVID times makes all that stuff like just not work anymore. But get creative with it and do something fun, thinking about what your kids like. Again, thinking back to social skills. So when they are at work and they are on the job, they are going to be having a lunch break, or they might be eating breakfast there, or whatever time of the day it might be. Do they have the manners to be able to sit with others and eat? Are they going to pick their nose? Are they going to talk about bowel movements? Are they going to talk about the gory murder that they saw on a movie the night before? Do they have the social skills to be able to have a conversation in a break room? Self-advocacy, again, asking for a break if too much time passes, reminding supervisors about their lunch break. They're entitled to a lunch break, and make sure that they are able to ask for that. And then again, going back to behavior management, that flexibility piece that so many of our learners struggle with. If somebody comes up to them and says, hey, I know your lunch is at 11:30, but today it's going to be pushed to 12, are they going to say, okay, I understand, or are they going to say, what in the world, and lose it? My lunch is at 11:30, because that's just what they're used to. Do they have that flexibility to understand that? And that is where one of my favorite things comes into play, and that is a little self-sabotage. Sabotage the classroom sometimes, just a little bit. We don't want learners to have anxiety. We don't want things to be totally derailed, but set up some intentional times where you tell your staff or you tell the other teachers that you're working with, hey, today, I know that so-and-so always eats at this time. I'm going to tell them that I need them to eat at this time because things are a little bit off today, and see how they respond. Tell them, hey, I know you always eat at this table, but that table is actually getting cleaned today, or the wheel got broken or something. And today we're going to actually have to sit at a different table. So you can pick, but it's going to have to be a different table. See how they respond to those little things. Tell them that, they don't have to sit with somebody else. You don't want to force them to sit necessarily with other people. But, just encourage anything to be different. And then see if they're able to handle that. Okay, so again, going back to meal prep, simple meal prep. Every learner can meal prep and cook. If safety is a concern, focus your cooking classes or lessons on non-heat meals or simple microwave recipes. We have a bunch of these. Have any of you used these visual recipes from Teachers Pay Teachers? They're so awesome. So we have a bunch of these up here too if anybody wants some examples of those. Okay, so break time. Thinking again, all related to vocational skills. Does your learner have recreation and leisure skills? Do they have the social skills, and do they have time management? So a lot of times people will say things like, oh, it's their break, they're content, they're fine with just sitting there. Do you care if I use you as a prop? Okay, so would it be okay if you guys walked into a break room and you saw somebody and they just came and sat down like this? And just stare at you and stare in your face, or you walk in and somebody's sitting in a chair and they're just staring at the wall. You're going to be like, hello? Or if you're that person, you're going to be really uncomfortable and be like, I don't like this. So we need to make sure that our learners understand how to be socially appropriate in regards to leisure and recreation times. Can they sit there and know how to scroll on their phone? Can they sit there and know how to, it's okay to do nothing, but look down and make sure you're looking around and you're not just staring at somebody. Do they have those social skills to be able to be in a break room and interact with others, or appropriately not interact with others? Do they know how to bring appropriate break materials? We don't want them bringing anything inappropriate to look at during a break at work. Can they set a timer, or do they have the ability to look at a clock and know, hey, my time is up? One thing that I was super guilty of as a teacher that I wish I would have done differently is I always set my kids' timers. Always. If it was break time, I would say, hey guys, I'm putting 10 minutes on the timer. You guys have 10 minutes or whatever. And I always did it. And now I'm like, they could have done that themselves. I know, yeah, I could have had them set their own timers. Because if they're at work, is someone going to set them a timer for them? Okay, Johnny, hey, I'm going to set your timer 15 minutes and you're going to get back on the job. And probably not. So make sure that they are able to set their own timer. And then again, that behavior management, can they tolerate ending the break? And that goes for all levels of learners. Nobody likes going from preferred to non-preferred, right? Neither do we. We all love our preferred tasks. And when we have to go from watching Real Housewives to doing the dishes, no one's like, yes. Everyone's like, oh, dang it, okay. But can they tolerate it? Are they going to be appropriate when that break time ends and they have to go back to work? Okay, guys, so we are going to get in now to the tasks. We're going to talk a little bit about them, and then I'm going to talk about some community integration, and then you guys are going to be able to get up, walk around, take pictures. We're going to do the drawing, and then again, there's tons of free resources, so we're excited for you guys to take some fun stuff back. So academic tasks. We talked earlier about how we need to steer away from some of those traditional academic goals, but there's still so many functional academic fun things out there. So there's some examples of these up here. This is Some reading and comprehension for different vocational jobs. This one's all about a busser. It describes what a busser is, and then you can answer some questions. There's vocabulary that goes along with it. We have that packet up here. This is a great resource. Functional, those over there are functional words. There's community words, clothing words, food words, kitchen words, things like that, to where if you want learners to continue to work on reading and identifying words, have them work on those things that are more functional. Lots of amazing tasks I'm sure you guys are familiar with. Different budgeting tasks, greater than, less than, do I have enough, do I not have enough? Dollar up tasks are great. These are my absolute favorite. We have lots of these up here too for giveaways. There's Taco Bell, there's Chick-fil-A, there's Burger King, McDonald's, all kinds of these amazing tasks that kids love. They love these things. But it's still math. And then I talked earlier about the social narrative that we have about going to the school dance. So here's just another one. It's great. It's still reading, guys. It's an academic task. It's reading. But it's very appropriate for the end goal. It's very appropriate for potential employment and for their vocational goals. Does anybody use unique learning system in their district? Yeah? Yeah? Do you guys like it? Yeah. So did I. I loved it. So I had that when I was in the classroom too. Do you use the secondary band or the transition band? High school. So I loved Unique, and if you guys aren't familiar with it, I encourage you to look into it and maybe talk to your district about it. It's a great, great, great program, unique learning system. I could go on and on about it. There's a lot to explain. But they just have so many functional tasks, activities. It is very, very age appropriate. A lot of the materials on there are the same things that peers are learning about, but it's just brought to a level that it's just appropriate. And they always have transition activities that go along with it, cooking activities. Is there anything you want to share? Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Awesome. Resource. So the great thing about Unique is that it's already leveled for you. So it is pre-differentiated. So they have some text. I should have put more examples on there, but I can email you some if you want, if you leave me your email. They have some that are very picture-based and very visual-based with pictures, and then they have some that are full page. I mean, full page writing, no visuals. Wouldn't you say it's a pretty vast spectrum of who it applies to. Okay, and then this is just an example of something I did in my classroom on the wall. We used Unique, like I said, so we always had this was just kind of our focus wall for the week. So we would have our story that we were working on, we would have the vocational task that tied with it, we would have activities of daily living task that tied with it, and then a math and reading, or the reading is the story, and then we would have a math goal that went with it as well. So we tied it all together to all of the components of their day. Okay, so we talked about those academic goals and steering away from generic ones. So here's some potential goals that you could utilize for functional academics. They're not obviously worded in the way that you would want to word them in the IEP. These are just ideas. Functional words from a word list, comprehension questions, following functional readings. I'm not going to read through all of these, but just a couple. Like I said, money management, making change, matching job descriptions with job titles, things like that. So there's still academic tasks, but just very functional in regards to vocational skills. Okay, and beautiful, wonderful task boxes. So these were my task boxes in my classroom, and one thing I want to point out really quick is a lot of times when we have the labels at the end of a task box, people will do like stars, hearts, letters, numbers. So what I always did in my classroom is I did functional community pictures and words. So if you can kind of see on there, like some of them are clothing items, food items, community signs. So instead of saying, okay, go find the star task box, I would say, go find the blue jeans, go find the caution sign, things like that. Or on their schedule, it would be those different signs as opposed to some of those more elementary signs. And we have some examples in freebies of these labels as well up here. So when we're looking at task boxes, we want it to be any task with a clear beginning and end, focusing on mastered or fluent skills. We don't want to be teaching brand new skills when we do task boxes. We want learners to have a schedule. We want it to be a skill that they are pretty fluent with, they understand, they're good at, and that they can kind of get through. It's a foundational skill that will eventually lead up to a bigger vocational skill. And we'll get into that here in just a sec. So again, this is just kind of what I went over, independent skills, remembering that they might start off small. They might start off with simple put-in tasks, but hopefully that was done at a more elementary level, and now they're able to do some of the higher level tasks leading to vocational tasks. Here's some examples of some schedules. Again, they might use the picture one where they take the picture and match it to the box. Wrong side. Here we go. So the shirt on their schedule, they might have the orange shirt, and then when it's time, they come up, they match it on the box, they put it down, they go take the box back, complete it, put it back. They might not need the pictures, they might just have the words. So what they would do is they would just take a dry erase marker, check it off, I did that one, check it off, I did that one. We have some example schedules up here for freebies as well. Jobs and tasks for task boxes, assembly, sorting, packaging, filing, labeling, matching. These are, again, foundational skills leading up to vocational skills. Very simple little tasks of jobs that you're going to see in sheltered workshops, jobs that you're going to see out in the community. Almost every job that a learner is going to do is going to encompass one of these skills. And then just some examples I'll skip through so we have time for you guys to get up and explore. I will go over this real quick. So does anybody use the word jig in here? Lindsay and I had this debate earlier. She was like, jig, what? Anybody? No? Yeah? Okay, so these are jigs. You learned something new today. So a jig is basically just like a template. So kids can match to the jig, and then they put it in a bag. So this is how they know, it's like one-to-one correspondence, basically. This is how they know what they're putting in. So this is one visual support you can use for tasks. We have a bunch of these for freebies. And then also a task analysis, picture step by step. And again, you can see here, they can be pictures, or down the bottom, it's written words. And that's a great skill for learners to have. Can they complete a task following written instructions? And there's just some examples that you guys can come up here and see. I'll skip through these. This is a great resource if you want to take a picture of it on Teachers Pay Teachers. It's like $13, but there's like an insane number of tasks, and they already have the task analyses done for you, so you just print them out. So I just thought I'd throw this in there for you guys if you wanted to take advantage of that. Yeah. Okay, and then task cards also, guys, we have a bunch of those up here as well. Task cards are great. Print them out, laminate them, have them use dry erase markers, clothespins, clips, whatever. Again, there's very different levels. The ones over on the top left, that's a higher level skill. So that's not going to be for some of your learners that might be very visual based. That one is an emergency or not? And those are great, great, great things for our learners to know. If this happens in the workplace, is it an emergency or is that not an emergency? Job etiquette, task cards. Great, great, great for some of those learners who might be going into competitive employment. And then there's some more simple ones as well. So like, where does this go? Sink or trash, things like that. And again, those are just some examples. We love putting those in these amazing colored cases. They fit perfectly in there. And we have a bunch of these for freebies as well. Here's some more examples. My kids love these pizza ones. Complete the order. What do I need? They have to put together all the different ingredients for different food items. There's those, is it appropriate? Yes or no for the workplace. And then task cards for following a schedule or reading a schedule. Storage, again, we talked about using those task card boxes. Those are great. And there's supposed to be one in the middle there. It didn't show up. Digital also, boom cards, guys. There's tons of vocational task cards that are available via boom cards. Oh, there it is. Okay, now, vocational and activities of daily living stations. Similar to task boxes, however, these should be your next step. So these are going to be more job specific, things you might actually see in the community, things that your learners might actually be participating in. I'm going to skip some of this because you'll be able to see these all when you walk around. So putting together lunch stacks, following a recipe card or following a visual card, putting together gift baskets. The one on the left is putting together a little gift bag, a goodie bag, following pizza orders, making your own pizzas. Putting together flower arrangements, 2 white, 1 purple, 1 green. putting those together using a clip, so creating different flower arrangements, actual jobs that they might be working at in the community that you can recreate in the classroom. Can you get actual bouquets of flowers and have them do actual arrangements? Probably not, unless you are in a very wealthy district. But this is a great way to supplement that, and these are all from the Dollar Tree. Putting together hair care kits. Any type of kit or assembly is huge. They're super easy tasks. You can get them at the Dollar Tree. And this is a great skill that a lot of learners do out in the community. Putting together an assembly is a very popular skill. So hair care kits, personal care kits, nail kits. The one on the left is for a learner that had very high support needs, but he is still able to follow a jig. This is more of just practice. He was able to put these coins on the jig, put them in a bag. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, put in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, put in. One on the right is practicing medicine with pom-pom balls. So again, following that visual there. So on Sunday, we get a purple and a red. Monday, we get a purple and a red. School jobs around the school. So we would do Happy Friday treat bags. It was a kiss, a little piece of paper that said Happy Friday, and they put it in the bag. We delivered them around. We did first aid kits for classrooms all over our high school. The nurse put us in charge of making the first aid kits for our building. We did autism, acceptance or awareness, little stickers or little treats too. So we taped a piece of candy on these and took them around the building. And then here's some vocational goal ideas as well. I'll skip through so you guys have time to look around. Snack carts, I'm sure a lot of you guys do snack carts, probably. Those are pretty popular now, yes. Amazing skills along with that. These are some of my old friends. We got this popcorn machine donated to us, and so on Fridays, we made popcorn for the school. The kids loved it. So we basically made popcorn all day. My room stunk real bad. So we made popcorn and sold that for another little job around the building. Watering plants, we filled the salt shakers and pepper shakers for the staff lounge. We did shredding for the building. We did laundry for boys' basketball teams. Okay, and here's just again some more examples of some school jobs. I'm gonna skip through these. Okay, guys, last thing we're going to talk about, and then you guys can take pictures and do all the free stuff and come get lots of goodies. So community outreach. I highly recommend start reaching out to your community and talking to businesses. I'm going to get the giveaways. There's just some examples on there of different places you can do retail, restaurants, library, cosmetology, all kinds of different places. Start reaching out and seeing if they would be willing to work with you. We ended up doing Price Cutter, the Dickerson Park Zoo, and Greene County Freight, and they were amazing to work with. And they were able to give us all kinds of different jobs to meet the varying needs of my kids. It was awesome. When you talk to these people, ask questions. What types of jobs do your learners complete every day? What are the characteristics you look for in a good employee? Have your students ask these questions if they're capable. Have them put together a PowerPoint. Have them put together business cards of their strengths and take them out to different community businesses. Ask them if their jobs require independent work or working in groups. Have they worked with job coaches before? Are there lots of loud noises that could be anticipated in this workplace? And like I said, have them put together a packet, put together a video, put together business cards. Transportation, steer away from just using the bus. A lot of people are like, oh, we practice public transportation. Guys, the bus is kind of old news sometimes, you know? It's still an amazing resource, but we can teach our kids lots of other options so that they have more than just that one option. If they miss the bus, what are they going to do? Do they know how to use Uber? Do they know how to use Lyft safely? Go over those things if it's appropriate for your learner. Walking, biking, and then we were very lucky. We had some amazing church volunteers in my community that used their shuttle to take us to and from the job site also. So I encourage you to reach out to that or to them if your school district would allow. All right, and that is that. So thank you guys so much. I'm going to do the quick drawing here, and then you guys can come up and please take resources back to your building. Yes.